You've seen the movies, right? Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, flashy neuralizers, and talking pugs. But what if I told you the Men in Black aren't just a Hollywood creation? What if the real story is even stranger, even more chilling than anything you've seen on screen? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most enduring mysteries of the UFO phenomenon, the real Men in Black. Forget the sleek black suits and sunglasses for a moment. The origins of the MIB legend are much creepier and far more mysterious. It all started back in the late 1940s and early 50s, right at the dawn of the modern UFO era. People who claimed to have seen strange things in the sky, UFOs, strange lights, you name it, started reporting bizarre visits from unsettling individuals. One of the first and most famous cases is the Maury Island incident in 1947. Two harbor patrolmen claimed to have seen donut-shaped objects in the sky, which then dropped a strange, slag-like material onto their boat. The very next day, one of the men, Harold Dole, was allegedly visited by a man in a black suit, driving a black 1947 Buick. This visitor didn't just ask questions. He knew details about Dole's UFO sighting that Dole hadn't even told anyone yet. The man then issued a chilling, almost vague threat, warning Dole not to talk about what he saw. This encounter set the template for decades of MIB stories to come. So, what do these real MIB look like? According to countless witness reports, they're often described as having an odd, unnatural appearance. They're typically tall, thin, and have unnaturally pale or olive-toned skin. Their facial features are often described as blank, mask-like, or Asian-looking, but in a way that feels artificial. They rarely blink, and their movements are stiff and robotic. And their clothes, they're almost always dressed in immaculate, but often outdated, black suits, as if they're trying to blend in but not quite getting it right. Think of someone wearing a brand new suit from a 1950s department store. Even if it's the 1980s, their behavior is just as strange. They often speak in a monotone, robotic voice, using odd, stilted phrasing. They ask questions, but they seem to already know the answers. They might ask for a glass of water and then just stare at it, or try to eat jello with a knife. It's this high level of strangeness, this not quite human quality, that makes the encounters so terrifying for witnesses. These aren't just government agents in suits. Witnesses feel they're dealing with something entirely ... different. Let's dive into another classic case. In the 1960s, a man named Woodrow Derenberger was driving home from work in West Virginia when he had a close encounter with a UFO and its occupant, a being who called himself Indrid Cold. Soon after, Derenberger began receiving visits from Men in Black. These men weren't just intimidating, they were surreal. They would materialize out of nowhere, ask him strange questions about his encounter, and then vanish just as quickly. They seemed to know his every move, his every thought, demonstrating a kind of psychic or technological surveillance that was far beyond anything known at the time. One of the most prominent researchers to bring the MIB phenomenon to public attention was Gray Barker. In 1956, he published a book called They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. This book detailed the story of Albert K. Bender, a UFO researcher who founded an organization called the International Flying Saucer Bureau. Bender claimed he had discovered the truth about UFOs, but before he could reveal it, he was visited by 3 men in black suits who silenced him with threats. Bender was so terrified that he shut down his entire organization and refused to speak about the topic for years. Barker's book is what really cemented the Men in Black term into public consciousness. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is just paranoia. These are probably just government agents, right? Maybe from the Air Force or the FBI, trying to quiet people down to prevent public panic, and that's a logical explanation. In the early days of the Cold War, the US government was definitely interested in UFO sightings, partly for national security reasons. Project Blue Book was the official Air Force study into UFOs, and they certainly had investigators. But here's where that theory starts to fall apart. The behavior of the MIB doesn't match standard government procedure. Real federal agents identify themselves. They carry credentials. They don't speak in riddles. They don't look like they're wearing rubber masks. And they certainly don't teleport into your living room. The MIB's methods are all about psychological intimidation, creating an atmosphere of fear and paranoia. They don't arrest you. They just make you wish you'd never seen anything in the first place. Dr. Herbert Hopkins, a respected physician in Maine, had one of the most detailed and bizarre MIB encounters on record in 1976. He was consulting on a UFO abduction case when he got a phone call. The caller identified himself as a representative of a New Jersey UFO organization and asked if he could visit Hopkins immediately to discuss the case. Hopkins agreed. Moments later, a man was at his door. The man was dressed in a pristine black suit, with a black tie and a crisp white shirt. He was completely bald, with no eyebrows or eyelashes. His skin was deathly pale, and he wore bright red lipstick on his thin, lipless mouth. When he spoke, it was in a flat, robotic tone. The man told Hopkins to take a penny out of his pocket. He then told Hopkins to watch the coin. Before his eyes, the penny seemed to go out of focus and then simply vanished into thin air. The MIB then said, "Neither you nor anyone else on this planet will ever see that coin again." He then ordered Hopkins to destroy all the research and tapes he had related to the UFO case. The visitor's voice then began to slow down, as if he were a machine running out of power. He haltingly said, "My energy is running low. Must go now, ... Goodbye." He then shuffled stiffly out the door. Dr. Hopkins was so shaken that he immediately went and burned all of his research. What kind of government agent behaves like that? So, if they're not feds, what are they? The theories get pretty wild from here. One popular idea within ufology is that the MIB are not human at all. They could be aliens themselves, or perhaps biological robots sent by aliens to manage their human experiment and keep their presence a secret. This would explain their strange appearance, their robotic behavior, and their seemingly advanced technology, like the ability to know things they shouldn't, or to make objects disappear. They're trying to impersonate humans, but they're bad at it, like an AI trying to write a poem. The result is just ... off. Another theory is that they are interdimensional or paranormal entities. Think of them less as space aliens and more like modern-day folklore creatures, like a new version of demons or goblins that have adapted to the technological age. Their goal isn't necessarily about UFOs, but about creating fear and confusion. This ties into the work of researchers like John Keel, author of the Mothman Prophecies, who saw UFOs and MIB as part of a much larger, stranger paranormal reality that he called the superspectrum. For Keel, these beings were cosmic tricksters, playing games with humanity. Of course, there's also the psychological explanation. Could the men in black be a type of hallucination, a psychosocial phenomenon? When a person has a traumatic or unusual experience like a UFO sighting, their mind might create the MIB encounter as a way of processing the event. It's a manifestation of the fear of authority, of being told you're crazy, of having your reality turned upside down. The MIB becomes a symbol for the forces that want to enforce silence and conformity. But that doesn't fully explain cases where multiple witnesses experience the same MIB, or when they leave behind physical evidence, or when, like with Dr. Hopkins, the encounter is so profoundly strange and detailed. The mystery of the Men in Black is a rabbit hole that gets deeper the further you go. It's a blend of espionage, science fiction, and genuine paranormal horror. They represent the ultimate conspiracy, the faceless, nameless agents who operate in the shadows, ensuring that certain truths remain hidden. Whether they are government spooks, alien enforcers, interdimensional beings, or a product of our own minds, one thing is certain: they have left an indelible mark on our culture. The Hollywood movies turn them into heroes, a funny and cool secret agency protecting Earth. But the real legends paint a much darker picture of cold, emotionless beings who don't carry neuralizers, but instead use pure psychological terror to enforce their silence. They are the reason many witnesses are afraid to come forward. They are the whisper in the dark that says, "You saw nothing." So the next time you look up at the night sky and see something you can't explain, you might want to think twice about who you tell. You never know who might come knocking on your door, dressed in black. Thanks so much for diving into this mystery with me today. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. And let me know in the comments, what do you think the Men in Black really are? I'd love to hear your theories. Until next time, keep your eyes open.